Hello, everybody, and welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. I, of course, am your host, BMR. Waiting in Studio B, my buddy, my co-host, TEX from Texas Front Porch. If not already subscribed to Texas Front Porch, please do so. Again, if this is your first time here, please subscribe to Bigfoot, Michigan Rob on YouTube. Give a like, share us out, give a thumbs up, turn on the alert bell. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, KPNL Radio. Thank you to the lovely Ann Selene in Texas. Also, wherever podcasts are found. If you like and want to help support the channel, the Super Chat is open. It's always a great way to help us get through our days, pay for little things that we got going on to keep the YouTube running. Check us out on Facebook. Tex has got a group. It's called Texas Front Porch. Find him on Facebook. Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, also on Facebook. You can also go to our YouTube channel's about pages to look up other events and scheduled activities that we've got going on throughout the week. With that being said, our schedule is Mondays is Texas Front Porch. You can find Tex and Brandy. They come on at 7 Central and 8 o'clock in East. That's a new scheduled time, so make sure the alert bell's on for that. Tuesday nights, myself and Krista, Beyond BMR, 8 Central, 9 in the East. Wednesdays is the Diva Dimension. And yes, Miss Danielle is back from the hospital doing well. You should probably see her next Wednesday, and she does come on 9 Central, 10 o'clock in the East. Thursday, right back here with myself and Tex for Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Tonight, Thursday nights, it's the Blondes and the Booze, 8 Central, 9 in the East. And if you need a little more woo with the booze, Friday night, you got the Blondes, the Booze, and the Woo, 8 Central, 9 o'clock in the East. That's going to be a special show. That's going to be a different show. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Saturday is, of course, Texas Front Porch with Infamous Minds. It's true crime. It's Tex. It's Miss Diva. You can catch Tex 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock in the East. Thanks for everybody for coming on in. And by the way, thank you for everybody. I got the link pinned for purchasing my book, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob Presents True Cryptid Encounters. You can find that on Amazon. You can find it on the link. And for those of you that have, I've been asking people that have bought it when Amazon comes calling to leave a review because it does help promote the book more. It's all analytics these days. So I appreciate that. And I'm very humbled by your support with that. So thank you very much. And with that being said, without further ado, I'm going to bring up Tex.
Well, it's about damn time you brought me up. Hell, I was getting bored back there.
Yeah, I know. 4 minutes, it's, all these things we got to, discuss, Yeah. And tonight, well, Tex, I'm glad to have you back. You've been back for a couple of days now. And like I usually do once a month, what I was doing with Chris does, we normally don't schedule guests and we just do a kickback and talk. Today we'll talk about any cryptids. In fact, on these days, sometimes Tex, if anybody has an encounter story they'd like to talk about, you're more than welcome to I'll drop a link. You can come on in if you want. But me and Tex, we're going to talk a little cryptids. I scheduled a show, what's the chaos with cryptids, But before we get into that, Tex, what's new with you?
Well, I see, everybody's asking me how I'm doing and everything. Of course, Randy, it's being Randy asking me why I'm not at work. It's my day off. Get off my back. But honestly, I'm doing very, very well. I know this is going to sound crazy because it's been blowing my mind, my doctor's mind, everybody's mind. I've lost 52 pounds since the surgery. So, and the surgery was on the 26th, and it's mind blowing. I feel so much better. I'm having to relearn how to eat
Yeah, you're
because
telling me about that. That's
yeah,
interesting.
it's weird. Um, I have to, I'm teaching myself to eat slower and, um, you have to relearn how to chew your food correctly because you have to chew every bite of your food at least 20 times is what the target is. So, and I'm still not on normal what we call regular food yet. So, but I'm on Mashables. I'm fixing to go to um, what they call the soft foods, which I'm excited about because I get to have meat. I haven't had meat since before the
Yes.
surgery.
You haven't had meat in forever, Tex. I
I
don't know
know.
that I could do it, man. I gotta give you credit for that because I don't know, because I need a good steak every once in a while.
Well, and I'm looking forward to that. I really am. But you know what I miss most? I think is something crunchy.
So when you say crunchy, like your normal like chips and dips, your salsas,
Anything with crunch to it
with
because
substance.
yeah, because I don't, everything I've had is chewy, or liquid. I've had nothing that, you know, um, just yeah, I couldn't even eat fish at the fish fry, and I was cooking the fish.
And and fish is kind of soft, right? It's moist, and that still wasn't something your palate could take at the time,
Yeah, at the
right
time
after
it
surgery.
was very, very early, right after
Yeah.
my surgery, so I couldn't even have that. But yeah, everybody was walking around eating fish and hush puppies and French fries. I was drinking a freaking protein shake.
Well, like, can you put? I wonder how would the steak in a blender would taste like with a little mashed potato
I
mixed
am not even going to try.
in that. It would just ruin. I
I'm
mean,
not even going to
I'm
try.
glad you're saying that you wouldn't, because that would just ruin it.
I just I couldn't do that to a steak. I couldn't disrespect a steak that
No,
much.
just like all you people that put A1 or anything on your steak, if you do it correctly and season it prior to cooking, you don't need anything on the steak, my opinion, because the juices, if done correctly, are just succulent, right? Right,
The
Tex?
steak the steak sauce are for baked potatoes.
Yeah.
That's
I tell you what, though, I will say this. I'm not a big, I do like mustard on like hamburgers. If I grill
Mhm.
a hamburger, during the summer or whatever, I tell you what, I got on this A1 kick. I add A1 because I do like the taste of A1,
I
not
do
on a
too.
steak. I will put it on a grilled burger, a nice big half pounder, quarter
Right.
pounder. And I tell you what, that gives it some zest. It gives it some flair.
It does, and, sometimes when I'm making burgers, I'll put A1 or Heinz 57 because I like them both, in the burger when I'm in the burger meat when I'm mixing it, and then I'll make my patties with the steak sauce inside it. Um,
Mm.
but, it I'm I love now A1 or Heinz 57 is a great dipping sauce for just about anything really, but for French fries especially or baked potatoes. Absolutely
Mm.
love it.
I do too. In fact, I
I
mix
have a
up.
bullet. I have a um, barbecue and bourbon. I've got a bullet mixer actually, um, and I have blended some things that probably should not have been blended.
Uh, Pray
um,
tell.
um, uh, when I was first trying stuff out, um, I tried to blend spaghetti and meatball,
Mm, man.
and I got
Ugh.
to tell you, it was edible, but it just wasn't. It wasn't the same, man.
Yeah, yeah, that is insane. I don't have a response for that, to be honest. You know what? I did something I think sounds a little bit better than what you did. This summer I invented a hamburger. Well, at the bar I used to come up with different things with my cook, and but I took 2 quarter-pound patties over the summer, and I kinda hollowed it out, and I put blue cheese
Oh, yeah.
in between and put it all together, and then I grilled it up, and then I topped it off with chili. Now, something that I had to use a fork with because when I picked that baby up, it's just something that, you kinda wanna have a bib on or use a fork and knife, and, when you have a hamburger, you guys, I'm not a big fork and knife guy when you eat a
Right.
hamburger, but this one I had to, but I tell you what, it, uh, it tasted very good, tasted very good.
And that's another thing I miss is my buffalo wings, my
Yeah.
blue cheese dressing, and
Mm,
yeah,
mm.
yeah.
Well, that's just
I got some buffalo sauce in the fridge, and I'm kinda leery about getting too spicy on stuff because I love spicy stuff,
yeah.
and so I've been kind of now one of my favorite things to eat is I'll make me a couple of scrambled eggs with some melted cheese in it and some cantina style salsa. Now that's different than your chunky salsa. It's more of a blended salsa, but that's
Mhm.
what I can, my stomach can take right now. So that's one of my favorite things to eat, and that's probably what I'm going to have when I get off air today.
Yeah, well, when I get off the air today, I've got to, get a hold of my brother again because I've got a issue with my plumbing.
Yeah,
I'm trying to avoid the plumber text, but my tub wouldn't drain. Long story short, it had a leakage in the lower part of the house, and so yeah, I'm gonna try that again before I call the professionals. But you gotta try it yourself first, right? I mean, but
well, Rob, if you live closer, I'd be happy to help you out, brother. But
yeah, I'm sure. I know you're the jack of all trades. I mean, I learn stuff as life goes on. I knew nothing about maintaining a house way, way back when I was first married, but you just learn, right? But that's me though. I like to learn different things, but plumbing is not up my alley, or electrical, by the way. I zapped myself really good trying to, thinking I knew everything, and called the electrician several years ago.
yeah, it's easy it's easy to get bit. It's easy to get bit. So what? Speaking of getting bit,
Yes,
chaos with cryptids.
yeah. I thought it
What?
was
What?
an entertaining subject
Yeah.
just to put on and highlight. Because you hear, you and I have you've been doing this a long time. I've been doing it for a couple of years. We talk to various guests. We get various encounter stories. Of course, I put them out, and of course, a lot of them are in the book. And I was just thinking, because you had a very cool show. If everybody didn't see Texas Front Porch on Monday, I was thinking about a few things, and it culminates with me over everything that we all do and everyone we've spoken with. It seems like to me personally, a lot of these cryptids, whether it be Bigfoot or Dogman, and a lot of it is a lot of Dogman that creates this chaos and this havoc. And they just seem to like a lot of these things. You hear about things that happen in state parks where
Mhm.
people they just had an experience that wrecked their family vacation. Something came running through, howled at them with beating red eyes. And then you've got the stories about these things materializing.
Right.
And, for the hardest thing for me to do, and I always revert back to since I am a knower today, I believe that they exist with my experience in text, yours with the dog man. I still can't pinpoint if mine was a flesh and blood creature. I can't pinpoint if it was supernatural. So that's really the big debate, isn't it? I mean, what are we as researchers? I won't call myself a researcher. I get out when I can, but with all the evidence we've gotten, I still don't know where to classify these things. You have so many different classifications. There's 12, somebody came out with the 12 classifications of dog man. Don't think there's that many. I think it's
Well, I think
one
there's
or the
more.
other or in between. Well, you know what? There's probably cryptids, speaking of chaos, that are out there, including Dogman, that we just haven't come across.
Well, when when we're talking, well, let's talk about Dogman and the
Yeah,
12 types and 7 types, or
yeah,
there's number one, how do they know? Okay, that's always my big first question. How do you know? You don't. You're guessing. You have a theory, just like the rest of us. Um, how you can put a hard number on how many, unless you're talking to somebody that is privy to information that we don't have. You know, if that's the case, hey, more power to you. But if you're not, then how are you coming up with a hard number on anything as far as these cryptids go? As far as talking about Dogman, I personally think, and this is just my opinion, I'm not putting
yeah,
it out there as fact. Um, I think they've interbred with humans. I think they've interbred with different types of canine, and that's why we see so many different types. You know, but I mean, then if you talk to other people, you've got the the cat people, the lion men. I mean, just all these types of cryptids lizard men. I mean, come on, you
yeah.
can't with all of this diversity that we've got in the cryptid world. You can't put a hard number or you can't tell me that you know for sure anything unless you have you're privy to an information source that we're not. And if that's the case, uh, you got to get off the toilet and you got to shit or get off the shit or get off the toilet, and with the information. But it's just, and if we're going to talk about Bigfoot, you still got people trying to put labels on it. I'm still not really convinced if little people and I mean some of these some of these little people that they talk about um, aren't actually juvenile Sasquatch.
Yeah, we had Robin Moonshadow last, Tuesday. You
Right?
and I had her on the show, and it was just a fascinating show, what she has spoken about, and that was a part of the topic. And, we can get into that if you like. And when I say you make a great point, though, when we talk about chaos with cryptids. You said things like lizard man,
Yeah,
goat man. Now, the
yeah,
goat
goat
man
man.
is a known thing in parts where you live, right?
Yeah,
Jason McLean writes about it in his book.
yeah,
And, and I prior to learning a lot about these cryptids, if I were to sit back, okay, you got Bigfoot, then Dog Man. What Dog Man? What the hell's a Dog Man? Especially if you're just brand new to the field of study. And then it seems like you hear Frog Man, Lizard Man, Goat Man. It's like,
right.
okay, people are just making this stuff up. But like you said, when you talk to certain people and they describe some of these creatures, hey, Rob, hey, Tex, I seen something that looked like a goat. I seen something
Yeah,
that looked like a frog came out of the swamps of Louisiana. I guess for the average Joe, Tex, that's something that's hard to swallow. For people like us that's been around a while and people in chat, people listening later, it's not such a far-fetched thing. It's not
no,
all fantasy, is it?
no, it's not. Well, it's like DS Bama said. They may be coming up from underground. I think that's where a lot of these creatures are coming from. I mean, there's I'm beginning to think. Okay, now this depends because I'm not convinced that we know everything and we interpreted everything in the Bible correctly. Okay, because these fellers that wrote the Bible, that spoke to God and God Himself, they're a little bit smarter than we are. All right, I
Mhm.
believe, and they were there. We were not.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that some of these things we did not determine right or interpret right. Um, and I think the Bible and the evolution thing is tracking closer together than a lot of people want to admit. I don't think I don't. I personally don't think that God has had the same time clock that we do. Okay, I don't think time passes for him like us. Man was the one that put, supposedly came up with the concept of time in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So it's and it's like, well, it's like Freaky says. Um, the Bible's been translated and rewritten so many times. How do we know what got lost, and how do we know what didn't? We don't. So a lot of these things that we talk about and we encounter today, um, I think has been part of the natural world for a very, very long time. Now, did they go underground? I don't know if they went underground, but that's probably where they came from, and that's probably where they live. A lot of these things, but there's also areas out here where that's not really feasible. So they have to live in the swamps. They have to live in, hiding in the woods, in the forest. But
Yeah,
how many? And when you start having people talk about seeing these things in suburban areas. Well, how do we know they're not traveling the sewers?
you're right. I was about to say, because you make the points you're making, they adapt to their environment. Of all the
Yeah,
states, lower 48, you could talk about Kentucky. They've got a vast underground tunnel system
right,
ranging throughout the
right.
entire state. I can certainly see cryptids utilizing that. And you've got, the Pacific Northwest with the dense forests.
Yeah,
And then you've got like upstate New York with or in the New Jersey area where they've got all these towers and all these, um, what do you call it? The lines that run through, the towers, what I'm talking about, there's a trailway that they hang out
are you talking
underground.
about the power lines?
Power lines, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, through the
yeah,
mountains. I mean, they
yeah,
use that in these waterways, and you made mention about that's the suburbs. I have the Detroit River here, and there are reports of cryptids being found in the inner city of Detroit because it's off of the river. And I've spoken of a lot of tunnels leading from the river to the mainland.
right,
So there's
right.
so many avenues, and we're not even talking about the so-called portals or different planes in which I think a lot of these things travel as well.
It's just and DS Bama said, well, they took a lot of the books out of the Bible, but what's left is still true. God protects His word. They cannot change it. No, but they can twist it. Okay, and that's the big problem. And if you don't think it can be twisted, then you need to go look at these fellows that called themselves the next Messiah because they absolutely twisted the word of God. Hey, Anita, and it you and Randy need to touch base quick, quick and in a hurry. Um, but the thing about it is, when it comes right down to it, and a lot of people don't want to admit, they want to think they know, but they don't know. They know what they experienced, they know what they've seen, they know what they've been told, but what is that? That doesn't mean that it pertains to everything that we talk about. It doesn't mean that just because you experienced something, you saw this critter doing this and whatever, that doesn't make it a blanket thing for these critters all over the world the way they're going to behave.
Yes.
I can't believe that. That's
I
like
can't.
saying any dog, my dog acts this way, so every dog acts this way. No,
No, I agree with that. And this perhaps would be a question for Jason, but I'll throw it out there to you, Tex. One of the books that I'd need to get, the Book of Enoch, it's something that supposedly was taken out of the Bible. Now, a
Right,
lot of things that we talk about freely reverts back to that book. Now, there are a lot of they do talk about cryptids in the Bible,
right,
but supposedly, the Book of Enoch is another source. Talking, I guess it dates back to the pre-flood and post-flood, correct?
right,
About these cryptids, how some people believe that, and I'm not so sure I believe in the concept that all cryptids are part of the Nephilim,
right,
but again, that's kind of out of my array of knowledge,
right.
other than what I've learned from Jason, right? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, um, I'm not a good enough student of the Bible
Right.
to make that determination.
Sure.
So, I mean, I would be sitting here making conjecture about that just as
And it,
much as I'm talking about others making,
yeah.
these off the cuff, you know, throwing these off the cuff facts about cryptids. It's no different. So I can't speak to that. What I can speak to, and since she's in the chat, I want to mention this: the Alabama Bigfoot Conference, June 8th in Anniston, Alabama, in 2024. And the one of the main speakers is right next to me. BMR is going to be speaking. Jason McLean will be speaking. We have the girls are going to be speaking. Krista and Brandy. Martin Groves and Daryl Denton will be speaking. Barton Nunley will be speaking. And I'm forgetting somebody. Who is it?
Mm. Greg Ogles.
Greg Ogles will be speaking. So we have a hell of a lineup, and that is going to now. Tickets are not on sale, but I have been pretty much promised that they will be by next week. So yes, and Anita Collier is the host of this, and she's been doing it for 2 years, and we're trying to help her out this year. Um, so look it up, BamaBigfootConference.com. You can get more details. But yes. Anyway, shameless plug.
No, well, it's not totally shameless. I didn't know that the website was up and running because I'm going to need a copy of that, and I'll put it in a link of our shows. You know what I mean?
We are gonna link it to Eventbrite, and that's why Anita is going to call Randy as soon as she gets out of here. Um,
Yeah. Hear that? You heard that, right, Anita? Let's get on
because I'm going to have to conference call them both, get them
Yeah.
on the same page.
Even
Um,
though it's hi Peter Frampton, I like that. We have a new subscriber, Peter Frampton. Frampton comes
oh,
alive.
love me some Peter
Fan,
Frampton.
yeah, fantastic live album. Um, I just lost my train of thought, but yes, that's gonna be a great conference. And even though it's June 8th, we like to get this. It takes a while.
Yep.
It's gonna come up before you know it.
Oh yeah.
Just like Christmas will be come and gone, and then we'll be working on the conference even more.
Yeah, it's going to be. Um, I think we're going to have so many different viewpoints going, and that's what I love. It was the same thing with the Dogman conference. There were so many viewpoints um, that were allowed to be broached at that conference, and that's what I like because nobody, whether you were in the Woo camp as they call it, or in the Aper camp or whatever, or in the between, there was no infighting. There was no "you're wrong, I'm right" type thing. It was people having conversations and learning from each other. And I was a speaker there. I was on one of the panels, and I mean, it was just that's how it was. Nobody was barking at each other or anything like that. We all respected each other's opinions.
And that's the great thing too, because I freely tell people every day or every time I have a chance to speak on it. I can't tell you 100%, and I don't think any of
Mm-mm.
us can. I what and again, and it's a wishy-washy answer because I'll get asked this if I'm on somebody's show or if I ask a guest on any of our shows, and I always kick back and I don't have a definite or finite answer because I don't think there is one.
Yeah, and I believe the tickets are 30, 30 online and 35 at the door. I think, or if I'm not, man, don't hold me to that because I'm not
It's
real sure.
I know 30 and 35 are the numbers. I don't know if it's online versus at the gate. That I don't know.
But yeah. So when we talk about chaos, it's such a broad
Yeah, it
topic.
is. Again,
Um,
really quickly, that the definition of chaos could be different for me than different for you, people listening, right? It is broad.
yeah, yeah. 30. Anita says 35 at the door, 30 online. So, John, thank you so much. That means a lot. Tex, be healthier. I want to see you many years, brother. That
Thanks,
means
John.
so much. Um, freaky. um, and Krista just confirmed it. 30 online, 35 at the door. There we go. Door or gate, no matter which one you go through.
Yeah. Even if you come through a portal,
Yeah,
what is the portal
35.
price? The portal price is 50 if you come through a portal because we want to see where you came from.
So, well, maybe, yeah, well,
Or a
Pops will talk
discount.
about that offline. We'll make arrangements if she rides with you or me, whichever. Or y'all ride with me. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But we may end up in a big caravan from Texas to Alabama. Eastbound and down, buddy.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite movies, Smokey and the Bandit. Eastbound and down.
Portal is free.
Yeah, that's Little Patty is a great point. Yeah, if you get access to portal, you just pop up in the middle of the conference
Yeah.
somewhere.
Oh, Lord.
I guess we're getting at chaos with cryptids. I guess it's just a lot for a lot of people, including us, Tex. It does get confusing. You hear all these great stories from people researching experience or people just walking through the park and you come up and just see all these things. And I guess my gist of this is there's so many things out in the forest. We all concentrate on Bigfoot and Dogman, right? But there are things out there, Tex, that we have no idea what's still in the forest and where they come
Yeah.
from. Whatever lines of travel they utilize, rivers, streams, portals, power lines, underground dwellings. It's just so vast out there, and I don't think we've even tipped the iceberg. Somebody in the chat made a great point. The Pacific Northwest and the United States, Northern America for that matter, there's over 95 million acres of uncharted wilderness, including Alaska. Think
Yep.
about that number. That is a lot.
Well, and see that's the misnomer that a lot or misunderstanding a lot of people have is that just because all this stuff's on Google Earth doesn't mean it's explored. Because half the stuff you can't see through the canopy.
Yeah, and
You know,
Google is just a snapshot of a satellite. Yeah, you see all this vast land, and guess what? There's no, yeah, it's so dense. I mean, it's uncharted, just like the ocean. There's
yep.
probably a lot in the ocean we don't know about, maybe even more. We don't even know if the ocean has an actual bottom. Some areas, sure, there's a floor of the ocean. I get it. There is some depths in the ocean that we can't even get down to because we don't, with the technology we have today, you still would just be crushed.
Yeah, it's the ocean is a whole man. That's something dear to near my heart because I've been a diver for so long and I absolutely love the water. But and really, it's not just the oceans. You're the Great Lakes, for
Yeah,
God's sake.
absolutely, absolutely. I was about to bring that up.
I mean, you talk about something that's full of mystery.
Yeah, I am fortunate to live here. There's a lot of mystery, a lot of hauntings, a lot of you hear tales of sea serpents, especially Lake Superior out by First Nations. Always talk about these creatures that literally come up on shore and ate Native Americans back in the 1840s. Literally. We have the sinking of the Ella Fitzgerald. That's a mystery today. How did it go down? And this might not be cryptid activity, but they get storms as bad as the ocean.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, to take down a ship that as big as, I mean, these ships are unbelievably huge.
Oh yeah,
They're
absolutely.
ocean going vessels. See, I don't. And another thing is, I don't understand is how do we not? How are we not calling? How are the Great Lakes not a sea? Or how they get called lakes?
Well, yeah, it's such a great point. Some people do call them kind of like a sea. I will tell you this, and I think everybody knows this. If you would be blindfolded, and I don't care what Lake you're talking about, and if you were to be put on the Great Lake in the middle of it somewhere, and you opened your eyes and looked around, you're on a rubber raft, you would think your first instinct would be, I'm somewhere on the ocean. Because you
Because you
could go on
can't see
all the
land.
Great Lakes, you can't see land for miles. I went fishing on Lake Erie with my brother. We used to do it all the time a few years back, and we get out there long enough where you look around, you don't see nothing. I got lost on a boat coming home,
I
from the
remember
Great
that
Lakes,
story.
and we had lost time. Well, now this is not pertinent to what I'm saying is, but we're in the middle of nowhere, and we experienced lost time on the Great Lakes, right? We ended up somewhere that was supposed to be 20 minutes to get to, and we were over 48 hours away. But it was at night with no moon, so a lot of it was our fault, but we had charted records to show that we were on the correct path. So it's just the mystery of the Great Lakes.
Okay, so the only reason that the Great Lakes are not a sea is a sea is generally defined as a large body of salt water that is partially or fully enclosed by land, but also has an outlet to the ocean.
Right.
A lake, on the other hand, is a body of fresh water that is completely surrounded by land with no access to the ocean.
I agree with that statement, but also I did some further reading on this. Do you know that the Great Lakes were forged way back when by
By glacier.
glaciers which had salt water?
Yep. The United States, now here we go. The United States Environmental Protection Agency, for example, describes the Great Lakes as vast inland freshwater seas. A semi annual 2017 paper in limnology and oceanography, authored by some of the most influential researchers studying the lakes, also refers to them as inland seas. So there you go.
There you go.
Neither answer is wrong.
No, kind of like any answer you have about a cryptid.
Yeah, yeah. And that's, and I know that some people and I hate that they decided to leave the audience because most of their comments were great comments and they had great input. And if they happen to listen, or somebody is happening to listen that knows who I'm talking about, you have to understand, folks, that when we're talking about chaos here, we're also talking about the chaos that people go through that that have witnessed or encountered these beings.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not just the chaos that they cause. They don't have to do crap to cause anything. All they got to do is stand there. For some people,
Yeah.
you know, um, but just because that you have a different experience than like me and Rob have, doesn't mean we're not going to tell you didn't have that experience, because we don't know.
No.
We're not going to judge you. I mean, it's just because something happened to you and didn't happen to me doesn't mean
No.
it didn't happen. Okay.
And everybody's encounter is different.
Yeah.
Mine is different from yours. I still to this day don't consider Bigfoot, and sometimes people don't like when I say it. I don't think it's for me. I would never classify Bigfoot or whatever I saw for that matter as a friendly forest giant. I don't buy it. I
Right.
wouldn't trust them to throw. I wouldn't trust them at all. Right? And people will tell me they'll rob. How can you talk about ancient humans? Well, how do I know they're an ancient human? I mean, there's so many areas you can go. Just
Oh yeah.
like, in a quick and on the book, you guys, that I put out, not to, talk about the book, but there's a reason why I wrote that. Because if you look, there's 45 stories in there, encounter stories where people are suffering from PTSD. People turned up talking of the chaos that you brought up. Chaos was in their life. A lot of these people, you guys, got divorced because of what they saw in the forest.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
lost their jobs. They
Patty, I'll answer that in a minute.
They question their sanity, and they're all and there's then there are people that had a great lifelong reflection that put joy in their hearts. So they're
Right.
all different. They can go from one extreme to the next, and every story is different. And as you said, we don't judge anybody's stories.
Mm-mm.
Bigfoot could have been throwing flowers at you, or Dogman could be, which I've heard, taking your animals, your pets.
Yeah.
It's everything in between, right? And that's why the subject matter is it's different for everybody. And it's an endless sea, if you will, of experiences.
It is. And Peter Frampton brings up a good point. He always wondered if there was much Bigfoot sightings during the Civil War. There may have been, but I don't think they were reported. But I'll tell you this much: I think with all the hate and and the gunfire and everything, I think they pretty much hid out. I mean, they probably took to the high ground. Would be my guess.
Mhm.
When they hit out, they may have hit out more then than they are now. Honestly,
And and really quickly, I agree with that statement. And Peter Frampton, I just put out a video maybe 2 weeks ago, which will probably go into my second book. It was about Dogman in the Civil War sightings. And I'm not going to tell the whole story really quickly, but briefly, there was supposedly some dogmen in the Civil War, and a man was walking this property that was haunted that was smack dab in the middle of the Civil War. A lot of people lost lives, where this apparition of a man metamorphosing into or shape shifting into a dog man was spotted by this guy on his property. And the funny thing is, this man that was walking on his property was dressed in Civil War attire. I don't know if it was the North or the South, to be honest, but one of those uniforms, and just seen it kind of metamorphosize. So there's stories like that out there. So,
yeah.
so
I
hey,
mean,
you just don't know.
it's. I want to answer this question about saltwater versus freshwater, and it is the
Yeah.
whole buoyancy thing and the density thing. That's exactly what it is. So yes, you do. It's easier to float in salt water than it is um, freshwater. You're more buoyant. That's why divers have to wear um, more weight when they dive in salt water versus freshwater.
Yeah.
But that the whole cryptid during war thing is an interesting topic
It is.
because um, I don't think there would be a whole lot of sightings because I really think that with all the gunfire and cannon fire and whatever else. I mean, if you look at World War One and World War Two, I mean, especially World War One, look at all the nerve gas that was going on over in
Yeah.
Europe and stuff. You know, these cryptids ain't gonna stick around for this crap. They're
No,
gone.
they're in hiding.
Yeah, exactly. Whether it be underground or taking the high ground, either one, they're gonna go where we ain't.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't they view us as you know? Why wouldn't they view us as evil more than we would view them as evil? Look what we've done to each other over the
Yeah.
years. You know, would
Yeah.
you trust us? Hell, I
Yeah.
wouldn't.
They see the same species killing each other,
Yeah, the girl in
fighting.
the gone, cryptids in the Vietnam War, possibly rock
Y-
apes. That
Yeah.
we have
Rock
several
apes.
accounts of soldiers in the Vietnam War encountering these smaller versions of Bigfoot in the trees. So yeah,
That's a definite thing. And I think I think you might have had a person on some ways back on the front porch that spoke on that a little bit. I could
yeah,
be
I think it
wrong.
did a
I
long
think you
time
did.
ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. And but that's documented too. I know I've heard stories about that. Eddie, a lot of on YouTube. I've seen stories about the rock ape in the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And you
Well,
can go back.
you know, here's another thing. Look at the carpet bombing that we did. Not just the U.S. I mean, everybody. Look at the carpet bombing that we did. How many cryptids did we kill?
Yep,
Carpet bombing jungles,
yep,
forest.
yep.
You know, so
Would that be the same line along the same lines with the Agent Orange too? That we
yeah,
that's
yeah.
the thing, right?
Same
Yeah,
thing with Agent Orange, the nerve gas in World War One. You
yep.
know, I mean, hey, atomic bomb test. I mean, everything.
Uh,
How many aquatic cryptids did we kill?
yeah,
You know, with setting off atomic bombs under the ocean or
and
even out in the desert.
that's just another thing that I still to this day cannot fathom because you detonate an atomic weapon in the ocean or in the desert. And when I was growing up and reading about this, it was like, doesn't that the fallout? I mean, that's how vast the oceans are. That fallout, it doesn't hit. I'm surprised it has not hit a country. Now, did some
How
of
do we
this
know it
fallout
hasn't?
though hit? How do we
They're not
know it
going to tell us.
hasn't? Chernobyl.
Yeah. They're not going to tell us the ramifications throughout the years.
No, not at all.
They're not going to do it. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's not. That's why we do it out there. It's not hurting anything. I mean, that's where the whole concept with the Godzilla came from. You know, it was you have either one. They were trying to kill it. That's what the supposedly atomic tests were. They were trying to kill Godzilla, or they the atomic test created and mutated lizards or monitors into Godzilla. So, you know, but how much truth is there? I mean, that's a pretty damn good theory if you think about
It is. And you make a great point because okay, we have some reports of these things being detonated, but like you say, Tex, we don't know how many of these weapons have been tested in our oceans or in the desert.
it. Yeah.
You talk about Roswell and their experiments with UFOs and aliens, if
Hmm.
you believe in that, which I do. But what type of energy have our tests conducted and spread to Las Vegas or spread to Nevada or the surrounding
Yeah.
states?
Yep.
I don't know. Nothing is ever. That's why I like that when we talk chaos with cryptids or cryptids in general, you guys.
Right.
Nothing's a fact. There's no professionals. There's no person that's going to say, I am an expert. There aren't any. And I don't care if you've been researching in the field for 30 years, you ain't no expert. You might have a lot of evidence, seen a lot of things, perhaps. You're still not an expert because it changes daily. Speaking about changing text, I think we're coming up already on the 5-minute break. And,
Did I put the new one over here for you, or do I still have
yeah,
yours?
I see it. Well, we're going to find out in a minute because I do see something here. It says, new break. So everybody, kick back and enjoy. Tex put together a new break, 5-minute break. Enjoy. Don't go nowhere. Get a beverage. I hate to have you leave, though, because this is a cool new break. But anyway, do what you need to do. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
Nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
You know, that last I enjoy that entire break text, and that last riff really gets, I get the good vibe from that. I love it. Great job to text. Thanks to everybody for coming on in. I put a link out if anybody's got a story they'd like to share. You don't have to, but we don't judge nobody. I put a link down below for the last half of the show. Don't forget, Mondays is Texas Front Porch. Tex comes on with Brandy, 7 Central, 8 in the East. Tuesday, Beyond BMR, 8 Central, 9 in the East. Wednesday, Diva Dimension, 9 Central, 10 in the East. Thursday, Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, and Tex, noon Central, 1 in the East. The Blondes, the Booze, the Paranormal Podcast, also on Thursdays at 9 in the East, 8 Central. More Woo mixed in with the Blues on Fridays, 8 Central, 9 in the East. And Saturdays, of course, is Tex, Infamous Minds, 2 Central, 3 in the East. Those of you that have bought the book, Bigfoot Michigan Represents True Cryptid Encounters, available on Amazon. The link is pinned. It's also on my channel. Thank you for buying it for those that did. And for those of you that have bought it, when Amazon comes calling, leave a review because I need 50 reviews for Amazon. It's all analytics to help promote more of the book, just like analytics is so important on YouTube. So, like, share us out, give a thumbs up, and leave a comment if you would. So, thanks for that. And with that being said, bring Tex back. And Tex, thanks for coming on in today. And I like doing these little shows where you and I just kick it. It's always a good time and just talk about, the unknown, right? And really what we're talking about is the unknown. And I thought I put the link if anybody wanted to, tell a story. I don't know if you guys see that or not, but
Well,
with
I'll
that
drop it. Don't worry about it. I got
with
it.
that with that being said, yeah, again, thanks for everybody for coming in. Don't forget the super chat is open if you care to donate. It's great. It would help support what we do around here. We do appreciate that. And for those that are listening later, super thanks is something new. It's always open if you care to donate. We do love and appreciate each and every single one of you. And thanks for coming on in and being supporters of BMR, Tex, the Blondes. And we got the other great shows. Donnie Cho's got a great show, as well as Midwest Night Watchers. We recommend you check them out as well. Thank you for that.
You made a good point, and when we say we're talking about the unknown here, and I think that's something that a lot of people forget is we are talking about the unknown, um, because even if something's experienced doesn't mean it's known, because if you really think about it, and what's the difference in something being known and being experienced? Well, and this is just in my head, something that's known is all the questions are removed. All the questions are answered, not removed, but answered. Um, and I think that's a big mistake that a lot of us we've even been making.
Yeah.
We talk about I'm a knower. I'm not a believer. I'm a knower.
Yeah.
Now, and but we really can't say that if we really think about it. We can't say that because we don't know everything there is to know about
Yeah.
what we saw.
I think that's a great point. And really, and I sometimes refer to myself as a knower,
Yeah,
but
I
again,
do.
like I always say, and again, I say my Bigfoot encounter text,
Right.
but I always say this, which is kind of a contradiction. I don't know for sure if what I saw was a Bigfoot. I can tell you with 100% certainty that I saw something that wasn't natural, that shouldn't exist. It wasn't a mammal. It wasn't a natural creature. It wasn't a bear. You know, it was something that you can't even find on the internet. And speaking of which, I'm doing a show with Sibylla Irwin here in a few weeks during December. And she did the 2 renditions of my Bigfoot and then the demon that I saw that that afternoon in Cadillac. That's gonna be a great show. And in my picture, it's 95% accurate to what I saw. That will be revealed in the upcoming show in December. So you guys want to tune in for that one. Because I look at that picture today, Tex, and it still gives me the creeps.
Well,
Parts of it.
and the picture was totally different from what as many times as I've heard you,
Yes.
explain what you saw, the picture is totally different from what the picture I was getting in my head from what you were trying to explain. So if
Yeah.
she did a 95% accurate
Oh,
job, then yeah, that's going to
you
be
know,
something to see.
because I always find, and I've told this story and the description ad nauseum over the last several years,
Right.
and it's still for me to tell the audience what it looked like. I do the best I can, of course, but Sibylla, and this, you guys, this was not put together in 5 minutes. Okay,
Oh no.
these two renditions, we spent literally a month because number one, she's very diligent.
Yeah.
She wanted every detail. You know, just the body itself, it took hours to get that correct. To get to detail in the face took a month. This was a project that she and I worked on for several months. And when
Right.
I say 95%, I could maybe say 93 because it's not 100% because it's not a photo. It is her
Right.
hand drawn rendition, and she does fabulous work herself. Anyways, she came on last year, and we did stories behind her drawings, her renditions of other people, which was they're mind blowing for a person to do this, from hand. Well, it did it, used a computer, obviously, but I tell you what, when I look at that in my mind text, that's what I try to explain to people. And I'm finally glad that everybody is going to be able to see this here in I think it's mid December she's coming on.
Yeah.
So I
And me and
can't
her are
wait.
supposed to get together and do my dog man too.
Yeah, yeah. So go check out Sibylla Irwin. That's actually her YouTube channel, and you can see all of her work there. So yeah. So
And she's an incredible person. I mean, it's just her work aside, she's just
oh
a
no,
beautiful person. She
absolutely.
just really is.
She's an awesome human being. Really, salt of the earth. I mean, she's immediately. We immediately became friends at that Alabama conference, or was it
Mhm.
Texas? I forget, but you know what I'm talking about. First time we all met her. Great, great, great lady. So
She is, and just collecting her, the encounters and stuff over the years. She in herself is a wealth of information because
she is.
you know the w- okay, so every channel out there has contact with people that we all have contacts with different people. Okay,
Yes.
so you're going to hear different encounters because some people feel comfortable reaching out to this person for this reason or this person for that reason or whatever. So you're going to hear encounters on other channels or on this channel that you wouldn't hear um, so don't be afraid to don't get zeroed in on one or two channels. Spread yourself out there if you want to get all these encounters that you can, and you'll start understanding that pardon me, that there's a lot more than just one or two camps out there with these things. I don't think there's just I do not think there is just the woo camp and the ape camp.
No,
It's a
no.
very gray area. But
Yeah, it is a gray area, and you make a great point
thank
about
you,
everyone.
Krista.
Yes, Chris, Blonzaboo's paranormal podcast became a BMR pirate. If you want to join up, you can. It's in the description of the show. Thank you, Krista, for that. You get a nice picture of me next to your name, sporting a bandana. How about that?
I don't know why anybody would want a picture of you or me,
Yeah,
but
I know, but
hey,
people
okay.
do, they do for, which is, I'll take it. Thanks, Krista. Love you. But yeah, but you make a great point, Tex. So many people do channels, so many people take and encounter stories from people and then they interpret them. And it's up to interpretation. But again, a young lady, a woman that gets these stories because they come to Sibylla to do the rendition
Mhm.
of what they saw. Then, of course, and Sibylla is so into it, she heard my story. I told her story before we even started the rendition. We told my story, and she's
Right.
listening intently, picking out things. She started formulating this creature or whatever it was in her head well before we even got together to talk about doing an actual portrait. So she's very does the due diligence, and she has, and you know what I love about her? She's done 50, 60 or more renditions.
Mhm.
And what impresses me the most about this woman, she remembers the story behind each rendition she's done,
She does. Yeah.
which is fabulous. Oh, yeah. Coming soon in December, guys.
It's going to be an interesting show with that because I like I said, I've seen drafts of it.
Yeah,
It's
I am.
totally different from what I had in my mind.
Yeah,
Totally
yeah.
different.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It definitely is. And again, and it had me thinking, as I said, told the story 1,000 times, if not more.
Right.
And I imagine every single person, because we talk about interpretations, I'm sure people that are intently listening to my story or your story or whoever's story text,
Right.
they are picturing in their head what we're describing. And I bet you of 1,000 people, out of 1,000 people, every single one, if they were skilled enough to put out a drawing, they'd all be 1,000 different ones.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No doubt.
So
Ain't no doubt.
we were talking about, he's mentioned about the woo factor and this and that. And I know some people haven't seen this text. And this is always for me the most fascinating piece of evidence that I've seen, which I'm gonna pull up here in a second. Um because we all know about your experiences at Brown Springs, and you talk about physical versus the woo.
Mm-hmm.
I love this text. That's why I got this saved here to show people because people have seen it, people haven't. But this is in Brown Springs.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that? I mean, you talk about evidence. If you can walk everyone through this really quickly, because I love showing
Sure.
this.
Yeah, absolutely. I was doing a live show. Now this is actually these are the second set of prints that happened. We had the night before we were up in the cemetery. And we had handprints appear on our trucks. This is the second night, and I was doing a live up in the cemetery. Man, I keep yawning. And our trucks were. It was mine and Ranger X's truck were parked down at the bottom of the cemetery. Um, and my phone had went dead, and they came up um, to make sure I was okay. And in about the 30 minutes that they were up there and we came back down, these handprints appeared on our trucks. Well, we were able to identify, we think, at least 3 separate sets. And if you look at this particular one, this is my favorite one because you have everything in this picture, everything. The hand, if you look at the way the fingers are, okay, now I'm not going to get into the dermal ridges right now, but you see where the forefinger and the thumb are located. Now, what you have to remember is these handprints were smaller than anybody's on the team They were relatively small handprints, and we could not replicate the spread between the forefinger and the thumb. Okay, it was just too wide. The thumb, on this print, the thumb is almost shifted down. It's just, it's in a different location. It's just different. The dermal ridges, when you get a chance to look at these pictures and you can blow them up, the dermal ridges on these fingerprints, and we've had them looked at by fingerprint experts, and every one of them told me the same thing. I can't tell you what they are, but all I can tell you, they're not human, because the dermal ridges, the fingerprints, are horizontal. They don't have a swirl to them, and that is a primate, or great ape trait in fingerprints, and so that's very telling. Now, if when we go down and you look at the other that looks like just a smudge down on the below, that's what that actually is. It's a forearm and print, and you can see where the hair. Now, what you have to remember is these prints are muddier than the truck was, the dustier than the truck was, and to leave that thick of an impression. It was mud is what it was, but that's a forearm print, and it's the hair that was leaving these smudge marks, almost like brush strokes off of a paintbrush. And there is another picture.
Yeah, I think I have that one.
Well, and back behind the forearm, there's actually an elbow print with goosebumps that you can see in it. So that's all. We think that's all one print.
This is kind of the smaller one, right? Tex? Is that the same one?
Yeah, that's another print there, being measured. That flashlight is less than 6 inches long. So there's that. But what also happened, what we also found was there was in Ranger's truck there, he had a Bear-proof Yeti cooler sitting in the back of the truck. It was locked. When we came back down, it had been unlatched, and there was water. It was closed, but it was not latched anymore. And there was water and ice cubes that had not yet melted that was dripped over the tailgate, where something looked like it had scooped its hand in there. We didn't see any drinks missing. I mean, not only we had a hard count on them, but it looked like something had scooped its hand in there or something and had dribbled, ice water and ice on the tailgate. And like I said, the ice wasn't even melted yet. And also on the upper part of his cab, there were 2 handprints that were on the cab like this. And between the handprints was more water that had been dripped. Like if I had scooped water out of something and drank it like this, and it was dripping out of my beard, and I was looking over something like that's what looks like this had happened.
Yep.
So there was a lot of stuff that was just crazy. Now, on the other side of the road where we were parked, Brown Springs actually bubbles up out of the ground right there. And it runs across under the street, and it runs and makes a swamp or marsh area on the other side of the road. And these are white gravel caliche roads. And when it's dry, that dust gets and coats everything. What we think was going on, and the reason these prints are actually looked like mud, is because we think they were juvenile Bigfoot. I mean, we think, we don't know. We can't say that for certain, but all the evidence sure leads that way. But we think they may have been over there laying in that marsh and were wet and were crawling up on the side of the road watching us and had got all this dust on them and made bleachy mud in their fur and on their hands. And that's why the prints are so much muddier and dirtier than the actual
Yeah.
truck is. So because if they hadn't been, I mean, they would have rubbed the dust off of the trucks, but they put more on it. So yeah, it was weird. I mean, and then a trip after that, there was another handprint that showed up on Ranger X's son and his buddies went camping, and down there, and they ended up with handprints, but now they're teenagers, so it was not preserved. I'll put it that way. But one time we were camping down there, and I've told the story, I think, that about the big P spot back behind Nicholas's truck and the big handprint left on his truck. We actually pulled that handprint off of his SUV. He has it in a freezer, in a plastic bag. I'm gonna have somebody to send it to that I trust. That's the problem. But there was also what looked like a Clydesdale had just took a leak right below this.
Yeah.
It was right in the middle of all where we had been peeing behind this truck.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So
Well, the thing behind saying I know we laugh, talking about peeing, right?
Yeah.
Certainly, the urinated section, right? I don't know how else to say it. Certainly more so than what we would do, right? It was a gallon compared to it.
I mean, it looked like a horse had stood there and peed.
Yeah.
The thing was 3 feet wide, all of our little pee marks,
Yeah,
But,
right. Yeah.
And the ground was it was so hard packed right there. It was actually gravel that you couldn't there was no footprints, we actually thought about taking a sample, but we thought, well, would it do any good? Because so many of us had peed in the same spot. All it's going to do is come back. Oh, it's humid. Well, no kidding. So we really didn't see.
That's all cross contaminated with everything.
Right. We didn't see the benefit in taking a sample of that, but we do have the handprint oils now. So we got to send that to somebody. There's several people out there that, tell me, oh, you can send it here, you can send it there, you can send it there.
Yeah. Well, Sapphire said, what about Jeff Meldrum? I mean, he's so big. Would he even be interested? I wonder sometimes. Yeah, it's a bad thing too about certain people that are so big and they probably get so much evidence sent to them. You might be on a waiting list for 2 years,
Yeah. And I've got Jeff's contact information. I need to reach out to him and, sending these pictures. But I sent somebody these pictures that I thought would have an excited response to them.
Yeah.
And in fact, I've shown them to a few people that I thought was
right.
Would
be have a
I was
genuine
disappointed.
interest.
I was disappointed in the response I got when I showed it to them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they basically it was like, whatever. I'm like, okay,
really?
Yeah.
See, I will tell you this: you can't call Bigfoot. I mean, because we don't know, but I can tell you what I can call that. It wasn't you, any of you folk.
No.
That's not human, and it certainly was not an ape. I mean, the last time I checked, TEX, there's no gorillas or apes in Brown Springs.
Yeah, last time we checked, anyway. Well, and I think a lot of it sometimes when you take these this evidence to and I'm not beating these guys up because these guys are just great people. They really are. But if you pull evidence that they haven't,
mm-hmm.
And I think it's just
I
And I
know where
hate to
you're
say,
going with that, Tex.
I
Yes.
hate to say it, but I mean, I
Yeah.
think it may be
Yeah.
jealousy, or I
Yeah.
don't,
You know.
or something. I don't know. It's just,
And it's a sad thing. That's a great topic for another day, perhaps, because
it is.
it seems like not even in the UFO field, I don't think. But
Right.
when you're talking Bigfoot, you're talking any of these cryptids texts, and if you got something that looks pretty good, you don't know quite, again, speculation, but if you've got something that is pretty cool,
Thank you,
thank you,
Chili.
thank you, Chili. If you got something that's really good, such as this, yeah, people are jealous. I'm not gonna, investigate this or show this because
I
in their
didn't get it.
in their mind, I didn't get that. How did this
Yeah.
guy get that? And that's the sad thing. I will say this about the cryptid community. It is so competitive, tax. It's ridiculous because as hard as it is to do what researchers do and try to come together and get more answers, everybody is against each other, it seems. Not everybody, of course, that'd be a ridiculous statement to make, but so many are just in it for themselves. You hear about so many people want to get that great picture, that image, that
Well,
video or audio. It's just, to
okay.
me, go
Here's
ahead.
something. Here's something I really don't understand. When we first came out with these prints,
Yeah,
there was somebody out there, and I'm not going to name any names because I don't
sure.
want to cause any drama, but I don't understand the statement. And they said that um, they would pull hard evidence like videos and pictures and not bullshit like handprints out of the field.
Oh,
And I don't understand that at all. This is hard physical evidence.
yeah.
This
I
is
will
not a
tell you that,
blurry picture that you have to run through filter after filter and
yeah,
turn
no,
your head sideways to see what you're trying to tell me to look at. And that's
that,
all these people have ever came out of the field with. That
text
makes
really quick,
zero sense to me.
real quickly before you to continue. I would much rather have that than a picture, especially in today's
I'm the
world.
same way.
You know, and this thing that I want secondly is audio.
Yeah.
I've seen so many pictures, so have you text. Hell, people in chat have seen many pictures.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what it is.
No.
It could look like a Bigfoot. I'm not gonna say it is, because you know what? I don't know where you got that picture. And I'm not that guy to be the dick and say it's not, because I don't know. But guess what? That's the easiest thing to fake. And I hate using the word that people do that, because people do. But
No, they
this,
do.
but this or audio to me they're the first two go-tos that I get the most satisfaction out of, or piques my interest way more than a picture.
I agree. I mean, I don't understand those kinds of statements. And if you're not able to pull this kind of evidence out of the field and you're just submitting blurry pictures that you have to convince somebody that's there or draw
Yeah,
a bunch of red circles around it to identify what they're looking at, that's not hard evidence. I'm sorry. You know,
yeah, no, I agree. You have any more trips planned back to Brown Springs? I know you haven't investigated in a while. You just had your surgery, and I know you're up and
right.
running. You,
As soon as I get healed up, we're planning one in December. So,
okay.
but
Oh,
that's
really?
going to be one that we're not going to release the date. We're not going to release where we're going. It's going to be just a couple of us, and we're going to go. So that will be that will not be a for fun trip. That will be an investigation trip.
Yeah, that'd be great. And maybe you'll have something out for Christmas. I love Penny Van. This is so funny. There are people that everyone sends evidence to are so jaded from dealing with tons of reports and submissions at that point. The only thing that might impress them would be a Bigfoot at their door. You know
Yeah.
what, Penny? Thank you for that. And quite frankly, you're right. In many ways, you are right.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know. And I never was one that was going to wanted to go out there and pull out this great new evidence and everything. I was going out there for the experiences and to relay them to people, and stuff like that. And if I caught, and I was a big, I'm still am a big audio guy. I love audio,
Mhm.
but it when you do pull something very very exciting like this out of the field, and then you get told stuff like, or you get, you have people like I said earlier about that, with the comparing it to a blurry photo. You really, and then you get people that you thought you could go to, and they either just kind of blow it off, or their response to it is, "Well, what did you do with it?" Well, I'm doing something with it. I'm showing it to you. Tell me where to go with this. You've been doing this for decades. I'm relying on your experience. Well, what did you do with it? What did you do? This? Did you do that? Did you? No, I'm learning here. And they get mad at you for not doing what they would have done. Well, hell, I didn't know. you know, so we're all learning here. I'm no expert.
No, I mean, and you just said the key word that I think I've said it nauseum. Tex, you've said it at nauseum. Our whole team has said it at nauseum. For me, it's just about learning. I'm not going to become a millionaire. I'm not allowed to become rich. It's like just to learn,
Yeah.
right? That's why we have guests on shows. That's why we reach out to people, read their emails, listen to their encounters, because we want to learn. And another thing I always say is all about the data. You get enough of these same types of evidence or these same stories, and you when you make when you compound it all together, it all adds up, right? I mean, it does, and that's what I'm into it for, just to learn.
Well, and then you get these critical thinker jokers, if they
Yeah,
call
right.
themselves,
Yeah.
and they don't do nothing but bash people about talking about their encounters and
Yep.
bitch about not having proof. And then when somebody pulls proof like this out of the field, they don't even talk about it. They don't even give it no airtime. Why? Because you just prove them wrong. Critical thinking, my ass. You're just criticizing thinking. That's all you're doing.
In my estimation, most of these critical thinkers out there don't even believe in anything. They're
No,
just
they're
looking
just here to
to
criticize people. They're not.
their
They don't have not dick to do with the evidence. They don't care about it because
they're
they
just
just want
looking
to
to
get
be
on here and
trollers and have
bash people.
nothing.
And
They
I've
want
never
to
even been bashed by them. I never
no,
have.
no,
You
but
know,
again,
but I've listened to them do it to a bunch of other people.
yeah,
And
it's disheartening.
it is.
Nothing better to do. Critical thinking, as you said, my ass, and you know what? That's probably where we can end it today, Tex. We've come up in 90
Yeah,
minutes.
before I get too wound up.
Yeah, well, you did fine. I mean, um, it's a great show as always talking about this stuff. It's all about learning, everybody. That's what I'm all about, Tex. All of us. Be as genuine as we can. You'll never hear us say, this is real. This is the actual proof that you've been waiting for. But more importantly, if you've got a story, you have evidence, or if you have an encounter, tell us about it. We don't judge anybody. We don't criticize. We don't condemn because we look forward to everyone's stories to share, whether it's on a show, whether it end up in a book or on a video or whatever, or
Right.
in anonymity, because we need the data, we need the stories, because we're not going to prove anything, you guys, but you know what? We all want to learn, and we're all the people sitting here in chat right now, you're here because you're interested and you seek knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's all we try to do is provide knowledge and give an answer, take it or leave it. We don't know because no answer is a right or wrong answer. So we got some great shows lined up for end of Thanksgiving. I am off. Brunch with Bigfoot Rob is always off on Thanksgiving Thursday, so I won't be back here until next Tuesday. But I will say this Saturday I have a special show I normally don't do shows on Saturday. I got Paranormal Roundtable joining on Saturday. And then Tex, what you got? What do you have going on Monday?
Actually, I got Paranormal Roundtable coming up. Josh Turner coming up on my show Monday.
Well, we got back-to-back PRT. Great stories from him. Should be great shows. And I've got a lot of great things lined up, Text, throughout the month of December. I love the month of December. I got a lot of Christmas shows set up. So do you, Tex. The Blondes, the Booze. Don't forget, subscribe to Texas Front Porch on YouTube. The Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube. Of course, Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. We got fantastic content and guests coming up throughout the month of the end of November and December. So, again, leave a comment, give a thumbs up, share, subscribe. Thanks for buying my book. Leave a review when Amazon comes to calling. Any final words, Tex, before I take this home?
You know what? Y'all just if we don't see you before the holidays, just stay safe, and but have a good time. Enjoy being around your family because you never know when you're not going to be able to do it.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. As you won't see me Thursday, you'll see me Saturday, as I said. Thank you to Krista for becoming a BMR pirate. Thanks, Krista. And also thank you to Chili for the awesome super chat. We appreciate that. It helps us do a lot of things on our channels. It is great. Your support is appreciated. And until next time, for Tex, it's BMR, and we're out.